Coming up in the Bahamas tonight, two buses transporting prisoners collide in the height of morning traffic. The FNM and PLP go head-to-head on crime in overnight rallies. The Desmond Key trial goes to jury, and preparing to receive royalty. We'll give you details of tomorrow's visit of Prince Harry. All those stories and more coming up in the Bahamas tonight.
Covering the islands of the Bahamas, ZNS Network presents The Bahamas Tonight.
This portion of the news is brought to you by McDonald's. McDonald's, I'm loving it.
Good evening and welcome to the Bahamas Tonight, the National Report. I'm Keishla Adderley. Thanks for joining us. Topping the news tonight, a police officer has been convicted in the death of a man who was taken into police custody. A guilty verdict was handed down late this afternoon in the Desmond Key manslaughter trial, 4 years after Key was reportedly beaten by police who arrested him on a traffic stop. Fern Carey was in court today as the verdict was handed down.
To God be the glory. Great things he have done.
That's Desmond Key's grandmother, Verna Bastian, reacting to the verdict handed down Friday evening. The verdict coming some 5 years after 28-year-old Desmond Key was beaten with a baseball bat while in custody at the Grove Police Station after being arrested on a traffic violation. He later died. Key's grandmother says justice has been served.
I have suffered. I have had sleepless night. I have lost money. But to God be the glory.
The 8-woman, 1-man jury deliberated for some 2 hours, returning a majority verdict of 6-3, indicating that 6 of them believed Gardner was guilty, while 3 believed him to be innocent. Key's mother, Christine Key, says justice has been served.
From the time this incident happened with my son, our family was in distraught up to today. And all we wanted was closure to this case, and that's why we was behind it, because Desmond left 6 children need to be taken care of. And they took his life just like that.
Following the verdict, Gardner's attorney Wayne Munro immediately filed a constitutional motion claiming the court had breached Article 22C of the Constitution and wanting to make submissions on the matter, but the court deferred it to March 20th. Corporal Gardner was then remanded to Fox Hill Prison.
Meantime, Gardner returns to court this coming Monday when the court will consider the issue of bail. Fern Carey, ZNS News.
Many say it was an accident waiting to happen, and today it did. 2 prison buses transporting inmates from Her Majesty's Prison in Fox Hill to court collided along the narrow Eastern Road early this morning, shutting down that area for at least 2 hours, causing major traffic blockages. Law enforcement officials moved quickly to secure the scene and deal with the injured. Cyan Thompson reports.
A major accident taking place on the Eastern Road involving a private Mack truck as well as 2 prison buses.
Just like a scene out of a movie, 2 speeding prison buses collided with a private Mack truck along the usually busy Eastern Road after 9 a.m. The incident forced police to aggressively deal with the situation with potentially deadly ramifications by blocking off all access to the crash scene. And within seconds, more law enforcement teams appeared to ensure public safety. Head of Serious Accident Response Team, Inspector David Lockhart.
This morning about 9:45 a.m. we had a traffic accident involving 2 buses, one driven by a police officer, the other by a prison officer. They were en route to the courts on Nassau Street conveying inmates for court. As they were traveling along Eastern Road, they had a collision with a Mack dump truck. As a result of that collision, the driver of the prison bus and the driver of the police bus both received injuries and were transported to Princess Margaret Hospital. The extent of the injuries are not known at this time. All of the inmates are accounted for, and we can assure the public that no prisoners at no time escaped, or was there any member of public in any jeopardy because of this collision.
Last year, there was a similar accident involving the inmates' usual transport to the local courts. What you're seeing is the fast-moving motorcade of public and contracted private vehicles used to redeploy and transport inmates to Bank Lane and the Nassau Street courts.
The prisoners were transported by police vehicles, and some members of we accommodated a few private buses, and they were escorted by police officers on the bus and by police vehicles and police motorcycles.
Lockhart was asked about the likelihood that the accident could have been a setup for inmates to escape.
I would not comment on this time. I would not comment on that.
Over the years, calls have been made to eliminate this mode of transporting prisoners. Meantime, officials are once again urging the general public to obey the sirens of security vehicles and ambulances. Motorists should pull to the side of the road to allow free access. Cyan Thompson, ZNS News.
Police are investigating the country's 22nd murder of the year. It was around 4 o'clock this morning in Faith Gardens, southwestern New Providence, that police responded to calls of gunshots heard in the area. When they got there, they found the lifeless body of a 35-year-old male. Police say when the deceased arrived home, he was approached by a male and shot. Police have not released an identity of the victim or any other information at this time as investigations continue. If you have any information which may be able to assist police, you're asked to call them at 911 or 919 or crimes tipsters at 328-TIPS. The safety of Bahamians, the biggest priority right now for the governing Free National Movement. This from Prime Minister Hubert Ingraham as he spoke last night at the constituency headquarters opening of Fort Charlotte. The Prime Minister slammed the PLP on its crime record, saying many PLP policies as they relate to the police negatively impacted the organization. Our Shanique Miller reports.
It appears to be the hot-button issue this election cycle. Crime, and who's best suited to effectively address the problem. The FNM says its record on supplying the Royal Bahamas Police Force with resources to better police the streets is unmatched. But it's claiming it was the PLP's decision that struck at and in many cases stunted the performance of the force. How? Firstly, creating too many bosses while stripping the working pool.
One of the things the PLP did that was very wrong for the Bahamas. When we left office, when I left office in May of 2002, there were 1,540 constables on the force. You know, constables are the ones who walk the beat, because these khaki people don't walk no beat. They are the ones who help to prevent crime because they have a presence in the community. I left 1,540. When I came back, I met 1,037. I met 1,037. Where they gone? They put billet on all their shoulders. And as you get billet, you stay in the office. You don't want to go on the street no more. It's going to take us a long time to get the police back where it's supposed to be.
Now, since 2007, Ingraham said his administration has worked to restructure a more efficient force, something he says took determination to accomplish.
So, at the feet of Mr. Christie, they had 10 or 11 assistant commissioners of police. 10 or 11. We spent thousands of your dollars to do a report on a new structure for the police force in 1999. We now have 5. Bell is one of them who gone. I understand his concern, but we didn't need no bell. I can ring a bell soon.
Ingraham says his greatest priority now is the safety and security of the people of the Bahamas, and the FNM has been and will continue to be tough on crime. The Prime Minister says not only will the focus be on the big crime, but on wiping out every aspect of criminal behavior. Shanique Miller, ZNS News.
The FNM's Fort Charlotte candidate, Shivargo Lang, also addressed last night's opening. He talked about his plans for the area and how he'll help residents live a better quality of life.
I look forward to serving with you. I look forward to working with you so that we together can do some great things here in Fort Charlotte. We will have a Fort Charlotte Youth Leadership Institute. We will have a Fort Charlotte Scholarship Program. We will have a Fort Charlotte Academic Encouragement Program. We will have a Fort Charlotte Wellness and Fitness program. We will have a Fort Charlotte Sports for All program.
The Progressive Liberal Party is looking to reclaim territory in the South. Last night, the party took its message to Southern Shores, putting one who came from among their ranks on notice and sending out a challenge on crime to the Prime Minister. Perry Christie and PLP supporters converged on Southern Shores Thursday night, looking to spark an explosion. The fusion of the Blue Hills and Golden Isles constituencies hold for them a prospective parliamentary seat in the sprawling South and an opportunity to send a message to former PLP Kennedy MP, now FNM opponent, Kenyatta Gibson.
You have an opportunity to return all that is due to the FNM candidate in this constituency, to let him feel, to let him see, and to let him sense that you have the right man for this right job right here in Southern Shores.
From challenging voters to challenging Prime Minister Hubert Ingram, Mr. Christie reminded him of these words.
Hubert Ingram took to the floor of Parliament and said if he, as Prime Minister, could not cause more than 100 people to be brought for trial for murder within 2 years, he would, and I quote him, hang his head in shame, release the total number of those accused of murder who have not been tried. Let Bahamians judge you using the same standard you yourself recommended.
When PLP Deputy Philip Brave Davis took to the podium, he accused the FNM of a combination of misplaced priorities and overspending.
$2.2 million from the public treasury to put sand on the beach. Where are their priorities?
But that wasn't the only hit at Ingram's leadership. Mr. Christie says while he looks for inclusion from the team he called one of the most dynamic ever assembled, FNM MPs can expect more of the same.
It really doesn't matter who Ingram's candidates are, because you could bet your bottom dollar he's not going to listen to them. Imagine if they make his cabinet and they try to talk to him. You know what's going to happen.
FNM party.
He's not going to listen to them.
Now, Kenwood Dorset is the PLP's candidate for Southern Shores. He told supporters last night that though he'll carry out the progressive plans of his party, including the development and restoration of parks and the improvement of busing routes, for example, constituents can expect inclusion that disregards politics.
Everything I hope to advance in Southern Shores will be community-led and be community-driven. Depoliticizing so much of what we do in Southern Shores so that our programs are not painted in party colors, but owned and advanced by all regardless of party affiliation, creating an increased level of participation by the voters in all that we do in and for Southern Shores.
An investigation is pending over claims of counterfeit drugs being imported into the country. The Bahamas Pharmacy Council confirmed to ZNS News today that the Bahamas government has received communication that fake medication may have been imported into the country. Now, pharmaceutical companies and pharmacies nationwide will have to account for how they're importing their medication. President of the council, Philip Gray, says the committee is being formed to conduct investigations into the claims. The group will comprise of the chairman of the Pharmacy Council, along with the Ministry of Health's Chief Medical Officer, the Deputy Chief Medical Officer, and legal advisors from the Ministry of Health.
What we do know at this point is that the government is in receipt of the information. We wouldn't have been privy to where the information was derived or to which ministry it would have been sent to. What I do know, though, is that by protocol, the Ministry of Health would have been informed, and in like manner the Council, which is the overarching body that would look into regulating such matters. And so, expeditiously, we were informed, As they received, we began action thereon.
Now, companies found in contradiction of the law will face penalties, including fines and imprisonment. The chairman stated that the Bahamas is among many countries facing the possible threat, and it's up to the authorities to investigate. But to date, he said that local pharmaceutical companies and pharmacies have kept up with industry standards and best practices.
Every country in the world is on the alert for the potential or the possibility of counterfeit drugs. It would not then be unique to the Bahamas to be on the watch. But to specifically answer your question, we have received minimal information in our tenure about any such assertions. However, what the council seeks to do is to have an entity which we refer to as a pharmacovigilance center. And what a pharmacovigilance center speaks to is the collation or the reporting on adverse drug reactions.